Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, we've got a pretty serious show for you guys that we want you guys to stick around for, so please make sure you go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, this Kyrie Irving situation looks like it's finally coming to a conclusion. What are we talking about? For those of you that have been following the story, Kyrie Irving was originally suspended by the Brooklyn Nets for a link that he posted on his Twitter page, and then they suspended him for a minimum of 5 games without pay. Then during that process, his suspension time frame, we got news that the Brooklyn Nets wanted Kyrie Irving to go through a six-step procedure that he has to go through in order for him to return. And when that list was put out, a lot of people in the public and some NBA players expressed their discomfort with that list. And some of us even here in sports media, we even talked about it as well. And now the recent news that we got is that Kyrie Irving is going to be making his return tomorrow to the court, I believe, when the Brooklyn Nets play against the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, obviously, this is also going to depend on when you see this particular show. And this morning I was doing some research, and I saw a report where they said, I think it was via Sham Karini, if I'm not mistaken, that they said Kyrie Irving has gone above and beyond to, address those items that they wanted. In this case, the Brooklyn Nets, they wanted Kyrie Irving to address before he returned to the basketball court. Now, yesterday on ESPN First Take, they were talking about Kyrie Irving, and Stephen A. Smith brought up a very interesting point that I didn't consider, right? He was talking about the return of Kyrie and how obviously it was going to create even more media attention. But he brought up a very good point that I want you guys to hear. So before we go too far, what we want to do is we want to play Stephen A. Smith's comments for you, and then we're going to come back and react to it. So take a listen to what he had to say here.
It's going to be a lot of media. Guys that are not involved are going to have to answer questions about Kyrie return. And Kyrie is going to have to buy into the system again.
Well, listen, let me say this to you. If I was Kyrie Irving, I wouldn't even do interviews when he comes back this weekend. I'd wait a couple of days before I did any interviews because we know what they're going to ask him about, and it's not going to be basketball. Secondly, and more importantly, people better be careful about what they're asking for, because even though what he did, what he alluded to, he clearly didn't do his homework or made a huge mistake in what link he elected to attach to his Twitter account. At the end of the day, you got a whole bunch of people standing up and saying, excuse me, some of these demands that were placed upon him is a bit excessive. Just for your edification, KP, with everything that's happened with him and Kanye and all of this other stuff, and then ultimately Dave Chappelle with his opening monologue, I am interviewing the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League next week on my podcast, No Mercy. So stay tuned for that one. But I say all of that to say this to you. At the end of the day, Kyrie Irving's got to get on the basketball court because his future is in grave jeopardy from the standpoint that he's just too much of a distraction. He's not played more than 60 games in a season in 7 of his 11 complete seasons in the National Basketball Association. And you've got far too many executives that think he ain't worth the headache. The only way to offset that and to remind them of who you are and what you can bring to the table is to step on a basketball court.
I think Stephen A. Smith brings up a very important point. He said that they should be very careful with the questions that they ask him. What exactly does he mean? Here's what he means from my understanding. Kyrie Irving put out a public apology. He went through various steps. He lost money through his salary, through being docked his pay from his salary. I believe he lost his deal with Nike, which he had a year or two, was still with them under contract. So Kyrie has paid his dues, and now the Brooklyn Nets have deemed him ready to come back and play. So what does that mean? What it means is that from here on out, moving forward, Kyrie Irving has nothing to prove. It also means this. If Kyrie speaks to the press, which he eventually will, and they start asking him various questions, Kyrie Irving wouldn't need to come out there and make any other statements to pacify people that feel like, well, all of these steps that he just went through probably were not enough. You don't get to tell the guy to go through all of these steps. And then at the end of that, when he comes back, you ask him some more questions. And if he says something that you don't agree with, or he doesn't say things in a way that you want him to say things, you now need to say, okay, well, we need to revisit this issue. You don't get to do that. And I thought that that was a very good point that Stephen A. Smith brought up. You see, originally people were saying, why was it taking you so long to apologize? He ultimately made his apology. Gave his apology, which he has done. So at this point, I don't think Kyrie Irving has anything else to do except to play basketball and go on with his life. I would hope that we've all reached that conclusion. The only group of people that I think will disagree with the notion I just threw out would probably be the people that felt like his punishment wasn't severe enough. Maybe people like Skip Bayless, who we're going to get to in a different show, who have questioned the sincerity of his apology, right? Maybe those people will say, no, we want him to say more. We want to hear more from him. And if you do that, what ends up happening is you're now going down a very slippery slope. In my honest opinion, I think Kyrie Irving has done more than enough to make amends. This is just me. And the funny thing is, I'm not on an island. I'm not the only one that holds this particular position when it comes to Kyrie. Some people even felt like he did even way too much. But nevertheless, I feel like he's done enough. And based on that report, he has quote unquote gone above and beyond, right? Just yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, the day before that, Kyrie Irving, I believe, donated $65,000, I believe it was, to a investigation or something like this. He just did. Kyrie Irving is known for having these kind of kind acts. He's notorious for this, right? If you follow him closely. So to Stephen A. Smith's point, I'm going to be sitting back and just waiting to see how some people will try to snare him and put him in a trap where they ask him a question. If he doesn't answer one thing in a particular way, people now want to stand up again and say, no. Why didn't he say this? Why didn't he say that? Because you can believe one of the questions that Kyrie Irving is going to get is going to be, what took you so long to apologize? And if Kyrie answers that question in a way that people don't like, I'm going to refer these people to the fact that Kyrie Irving has already served his punishment. If a person does something and they're punished, maybe legally or whatever it is, once they've served their punishment, they've served it. You can't now relitigate them and take them through that process again. So I'm going to be patiently waiting. I'm going to be very, very, very interested to see what comes of this when Kyrie Irving comes out. When he comes back to play. So these are my thoughts and opinions on this. The question to you guys is, what do you think about the point that Stephen A. Smith brought up? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys on the next show.